Good morning, it's Dave at All Things Important Reviews. Please smash that like button. Please smash the subscribe button for more awesome watch content. Little wristwatch check. I've got my Felida SE12 or SE11, depending on which AliExpress listing it's listed on. Beautiful homage to the Omega Seamaster 300M. Beautiful bracelet, great little buy. I just had to pick it up. It is an unboxing, and I had to pick it up because they've so-called, if you listen to their specs on the website, further improved the Gsteel latest model. Last year's was the G400 that I reviewed. I reviewed both the resin one and the bracelet one. I was impressed with it. It had some flaws. The main thing on the G400 on bracelet for me was the main model was like a stealthy one that was not legible. They didn't do just a legible normal one basically on bracelet, but we now have the G500, and I just had to pick it up because this is incredibly, they've managed to keep all the specs very, very similar. Even the look is very, very similar, but they've managed to decrease the weight by around 17 grams. Wow. And the standard model is super legible, as you can see already. Wowzers. Yeah, that does feel light. I love how legible it is. It's super legible. It's even thinner by around, well, a tiny amount. It's about 12.8 nominal instead of 12.9. But it's lighter by, 2 links worth, which is pretty sick. Now, I don't have a clue why they've only got 3 micro adjusts. Is that class smaller? Now this is what I'm comparing it to. Let me just take off this plastic dead quick. Now that is super legible, and I love it. Bluetooth, tough solar, world time, light, negative subdial. Obviously, you've got an indicator there for battery. You've got all the standard 200 meter water resist, 20 bar. Deployant clasp. They typically are pressed on the Casios. I think it is a touch smaller now. This is what it's comparing it to. I'm comparing it to last year's model, which is the GST-B500. Now you can see how much more legible that is. It's night and day. It's not even close. But then again, they've made a stealthy version of the B500 as well, but I'm going to avoid it. It's not for me. They've made a gold one, which is one I want to pick up. On the B400, I am going to pick up the black one, the black bezel one. I think that is absolutely drop dead gorgeous. Now, this model, the B500, the way they've done it, obviously it is very similar to the G400, no question about it. It's an evolution of the G400 basically. Now you can see, even compared to the resin one, which is more legible, you can see that the G500 with its stock standard model is way the 1A. The 1A. This is the GST-B500D-1A ER. This one. You can see how more legible with the dial indices, when the indices on the dial, compared to this one, which I felt was somewhat legible, but again, the indices were not legible, which is what I didn't like. I do like, on my standard watches, I do like to have them legible personally. I love the red G-Shock, and I love the red marker there. I think it's beautiful. Personally, in terms of the bezel, I'm not a fan of plain bezels. Not because I don't think they look good. I mean, yeah, there is that element to it. A patterned bezel does not scratch. I mean, it does scratch, but it doesn't show the scratches anywhere near like this one will. A few months of me using this, banging it into doors and tables, would without a question of a doubt have scratches on the bezel. And personally, I'm not in the market for swapping out bezels with Casios. I mean, you can buy them, but I'm not going to do that. You know, and I'm probably not going to ever polish it. I might polish the bracelet. I don't know if this becomes my daily beater. Hopefully it will. Let's try it on the wrist. Wow. Wow, 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 wow. That is light. Wowzers. That is super light. I thought that was going to be heavier when I put it on, but that is definitely lighter than this. Now, I don't know how they've achieved that. That is some achievement because, wow, that is lighter. Now, one thing to note is, let me just take that off there. One thing to note is, Casio have actually, well, it's got the carbon core guard thing inside of it, the you know, reinforcement of plastic basically to give it this strength, and lightness. But this one does feel heavier, and I don't know where that weight is coming from, but it definitely feels heavier. Yeah, that definitely feels heavier, the B400. So the B500 on my left is lighter. This is the one to get now, I would say. Don't get me wrong, I love the green one in the B400, but this is just, it's got everything. One criticism would obviously be, why have they took out a micro adjust pin hole? Sorry, why have they done that? That doesn't make any sense whatsoever to me why they would do that. So that's one immediate negative. Another thing I'll just show you. Notice the connection points on the bracelet to the case. They're screwed in. Let me just show you that. Super secure. Oh, come on, focus. Super secure, screwed in. Now on the B400, they've got, on the bracelet models, they've got these funny quick adjust. I mean, they're super easy to take off, but they're a little bit complicated to put back in. They're not, I mean, they're easy, but they're not super easy. The screws is better, in my opinion. So that is a definite improvement, putting screws there, in my opinion. Although I suppose some people will not actually like that and they would prefer it to have quick adjust pins, but it's more secure with screws. I can't believe how light this model is. Honestly, that is definitely lighter than last year's model. And I don't know how they've took the weight off it, because it's only a tiny smidge thinner. It's a tiny smidge thinner. And they've took the weight. You can't even notice that it's thinner on the, you know. And I just, as an all-round watch, you know what, I'm going to Thailand next month and this is coming with me, 100%. You know, it's just, it ticks a lot of boxes. So I've noticed that the links, they don't appear to be completely solid. So that's how they've got the weight down, and that's how they've probably got the price down, because this model is 120 quid RRP less than the Bracelet G400 model. So that's how they've took some of the price down, it seems anyway. And they've gone back to this style of pin release, which is inferior, in my honest opinion, to the B400 that has fully solid links and has a quick release pin system which works very well, in my opinion. So that's one way how they've got the weight down. They've used a kind of pressed, I mean, it does have a chunk of steel in there, but they're not completely solid links. So that's one way how they've took the weight down. And they've gone back to using this, I believe, inferior pin release mechanism. But ultimately, this model, which is one of my older models, this one on my right, this has a very similar bracelet links and very similar system for releasing the bracelets, the links. And to be fair to it, it's been completely fine and it stood the test of time. It's still a very comfy bracelet, because if this had completely solid links, it would be a much heavier watch, even though they do actually feel solid, but they're not completely solid. And my guess is these are not either. So that's one way how they've managed to get the weight down. But ultimately, it's not a massive, major biggie, that really. I would, of course, prefer this style. They are completely solid with a quick release mechanism. It's very easy to take the pins out. This is superior for that, but like I said, it's not a biggie. It's 120 quid cheaper that the RRP than the GST-B500, and it's far more legible, and it's got all the other specs. So again, it's a small niggle, but on immediate impressions, it's still very good overall. I'll get you a full review up shortly. I can't wait to get wearing this now. This is going to be one of the best affordable watches below 500 quid releases this year, in my opinion, for all round bang for buck, for, you know, the water resist, the tough solar, you know, all the features, the Bluetooth, everything. It's going to be one of the best ones to get this year, in my opinion. You know, so let me just see if that. I mean, they've used a negative subdial. Personally, I would have preferred it to have been. It does light up. It does light up. I would have definitely preferred it to have been positive, but they've gone with a negative. But yeah, not bad. I will get a review up for you shortly. It's Dave. Cheers.